Good morning, everyone. So we're going to start the EU4Ocean Platform online workshop. My name is Kate Larkin. I work at Seascape Belgium, and I'm one of the EU4Ocean Platform facilitators. So I'm going to be helping facilitate today, but also with the chairmanship of one of our EU4Ocean Platform chairs, James Nicotine. So you've heard a lot of motivation already from the coalition, from our distinguished speakers in the first session. I'd just like to draw your attention as well to the, many have said, we're on a climate emergency now, and we really have this massive opportunity in the next decade to come together and drive ocean literacy actions, really with the main purpose to engage people, to mobilize, to motivate and make real change and transform our behaviors. And this is related, of course, with the European Green Deal, with the aim to have a climate neutral Europe by 2050, but also very much in the international context with the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the climate targets, and the fact that we are, of course, living in one planet and one ocean. So all of the work that we're presenting today is in the context of connecting Europe, but in the global context. Next slide, please. And just to reiterate that we're focusing now on the EU4Ocean platform. So this is a professional hub network for organizations, people and projects to connect. And there are other components, the youth and the schools, which will be presented later today. Next slide, please. So now I'd like to introduce the platform chairs. So these were founding members of the EU4Ocean platform, and we're very, very happy to have them both stepping up as chairs for the platform for at least the next year. First, I'd like to introduce Professor Paula Kankaanpää from Sika, the Finnish Environment Institute. She is not able to be with us today because she's actually the chair of Protection of Arctic Marine Environment, PAIM, which is part of a working group of the Arctic Council. So she's in a parallel meeting right now, but she has a nice video message for us. And now I'd like to introduce James Nicotine. He's our other EU4Ocean chair. James is the director of Manaya Productions. This is a strategic communications and film production agency. And James has worked for several years with international initiatives and organizations such as the International Union for Conservation of Nature. He's also been a media advisor for the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO in the context of the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. And he's recently founded Blue Cradle, which is a non-profit working in New Zealand, but he is British and French nationality. So without further ado, I'd like to transfer the chairmanship of this meeting now to James Nicotine. So over to you, James.
Thank you, Kate. It's a great pleasure and a privilege and an honor to be one of the inaugural co-chairs of the EU4Ocean platform. It's a great pleasure to be among you today. I hope you're having a great time already. We've just had a great coalition call. Thank you for the introduction, Kate. Yeah, my name is James Nicotine, French, British. Kate mentioned that I'm a marine scientist, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a consultant. I'm a University of Edinburgh Masters of Science and Policy graduate, originally from the Geneva region. I started my career as a dive master in Samoa in the Pacific and on the Great Barrier Reef. And I now work globally with multilateral agencies, UN agencies, governments and nonprofits, communicating marine science and policy projects through my consultancies, Marine Communications and Manaya Productions. I live in New Zealand, so I'm actually speaking to you now from New Zealand, Aotearoa, New Zealand, the South Island, where I arrived as an Edmund Hillary Fellowship fellow, and recently I founded a non-profit called Blue Cradle, aiming to make ocean science and conservation more accessible. So I joined the EU4Ocean platform just like you as a member, as a founding member through my company Manaya Productions. And what I do is I make documentaries. So without further ado, I'll show you a quick video of the sort of work that I do. Hopefully it should work. So I hope you're all able to see that, and it worked with the sound. Um, I will now share just a few slides to explain a little bit more about what I do, and it hopefully will work. So I hope everyone can see this. In my work as a consultant, as a filmmaker, I've been really interested in decomplexifying ocean science and conservation. So this is a bit of information about me. You've already seen that. And so at Manaya Productions, what we're really interested in is decomplexifying those things, policy frameworks, conventions, and complicated science that not everyone necessarily knows or understands about, and it's very remote. And I think through documentary filmmaking, we're able to tell those stories of those scientists, conservationists, researchers, entrepreneurs, great people around the world that are doing fantastic work. And so Manaya Productions really aims to respond to that through science communications, but also political, educational documentaries that explain how things work, both at the science and the political level. So in 2017, I worked on a research vessel, Marion Dufresne, a French research vessel. We went down to Seamount, 700 kilometers south of Madagascar, on the high seas, and we informed the BBNJ, the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction negotiations at the UN through science. So, you know, oceanographic and benthic data. So you've got a CTD there. And so that was the film we did. We did a film called The Last Frontier with IUCN, which was shown at the UN. So these are the types of projects that I'm involved with. In 2018, I did some work with marine plastics in the Arctic and Baltic, looking at different questions around plastics and permafrost melt and things like that, and also the socioeconomic studies of how to consolidate a more circular economy model on reduce, reuse, and recycle to you know, get rid of the big problem that is plastic pollution that's actually increasing. The more we learn about it, the more we realize how big and widespread this problem is. The same year, I was involved in French Polynesia, doing some marine protected area advocacy, using bottom-up and community-led approaches. This project supported the creation of a large marine protected area. Following that, we also did a project with the UK government to promote the 30 by 30 campaign to reach 30% MPAs by 2030. And last year, we worked on an aquaculture project in Zanzibar, and this was really bringing together conservation actors as well as economic actors to work together on collaborative approaches on marine spatial plans for aquaculture, involving women, but also people from forestry and the tourism sector as well. And this year we're working in the Pacific with an organization called SPC and the Protège project, which is very much working in ecosystem-based management in 4 different areas: agriculture and forestry, coastal fisheries and aquaculture, water and invasive species. And so from our experience, I can say a few things about ocean literacy, is that everything is connected. And I think this is reflected in the work that we do, is that basically I believe that working together across our initial fields of expertise is where we make the most progress. If we learn the science, but also the local knowledge, and if we listen to nature, excuse me, and by adopting ecosystem-based or nature-based solutions, we can move forward with the restoring of a healthy, thriving ocean. So it's much better to work together than alone. And as we start to design in this workshop, the ocean literacy action across Europe and beyond, my suggestion and take is this: is why don't we work and make the unusual connections? Francesca talked about this before. I think we should think outside of our comfort zones. We should build bridges across sectors that are not obviously connected. And the platform is there to connect the most inland stakeholder with the coastal ocean user, the campaigner, the scientist, or the educator. And I think Europe is a continent of explorers, of trade, of merchants, of navigators. So I think we should reconnect with our fundamentally oceanic nature and spread the ocean literacy culture far and wide, and even beyond the EU, through overseas territories and where it's helping others facing climate change impacts. So with the upcoming UN Decade of Ocean Science, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and SDG 14, I think we have that opportunity to really contribute meaningfully. And so the EU4Ocean platform can be everybody's to exchange, learn, present, and potentially make meaningful connections, to showcase your work, to find a partner, to find some funding, to make long-lasting friendships, and to develop some solutions centered around people, solutions, and their stories. So welcome to this workshop, and I look forward very much to the conversations today. Thank you. And now we will have Paula.
Hello, everyone. The vision is that the EU4Ocean joins our forces and invites more actors to discuss about what is known and what we can do for the health of oceans and seas. My name is Paula Kankaanpää, and I have an honor to act as the chair of the EU4Ocean Platform. I started my scientific work on icebreakers and studied sea ice pressure ridges in the Baltic Sea. Since those times, I have worked for long at the interface between science and policy in different international tasks, and now I'm the director of Marine Research Center of the Finnish Environment Institute, SYKE. We monitor and study the status of the Baltic Sea, and just recently we completed a quite large and pretty challenging sea literacy project as we published a new portal, marinefinland.fi. It tells about Baltic Sea, and then it contains school material and a lot of online data. Please visit and see what you like. So the EU4Ocean aims to create a movement of ocean literacy for protection and sustainable use of oceans and seas in Europe. It's a tall order, but it's also inspiring due to its importance. The EU4Ocean initiative does not come out of blue. There are a number of earlier projects to build on, and we will learn from them. These days, our important task is to distribute information that is based on sound science and then make it influential. As the oceans and seas are visually so impressive and emotionally exciting, it will help our efforts. An innovation of the EU4Ocean initiative is to offer a forum for experts, scientists, artists, producers, industries, authorities, and professors to work for interaction and information for oceans. The other asset of the initiative is the strong role of youth and schools. I'm sure that all this will create something all new and effective. My vision is that within 2 years, EU4Ocean has attracted a great number of actors who all bring their own smaller or larger capacities to the network. I would expect that the network can orchestrate campaigns, events, or products that are implemented regionally, and then results are shared in our network in format of discussions, websites, films, books, and other means. We will inform about our achievements further to even wider audiences in conferences like UN Ocean Conference next year. I'm sorry that I cannot participate to the discussions more today, as I need to be present in the meeting of protection of Arctic marine environment of the Arctic Council. But I'm indeed looking forward for this EU4Ocean cooperation. So thanks a lot for your attention.
So let's all thank Paula. She's not with us today, but I'm sure she'll be watching the replay some other time. So thank you for that, Paula. It was great. And so now I will welcome Paul Rose. So Paul is a National Geographic and BBC presenter. He was the leader of the National Geographic Pristine Seas expedition. He's one of my personal heroes. So without further ado, Paul Rose, I'm waiting for you to speak. Go for it.
Thanks very much for the very warm welcome, James. And it wasn't until your presentation I realized just what you're really up to. So I think we're going to be doing some things together, hopefully in, at, on, or under the sea together pretty soon. So it's great to see what you're up to, James. Really great stuff all around. Well, like all of you, I'm sure, I've been worried about the language that we use for the oceans. We've had a few sort of sweet spots, haven't we? When first, all of the public, seemingly globally, understood what plastic was doing to marine life. And we had those unforgettable images of, we had, you know, these albatrosses on beaches that had been pulled apart, and they were full of plastic with very recognizable items, bottle tops, cigarette lighters, you name it. And the story of the Pacific, you know, garbage patch, and all these things. These were pretty sweet moments for ocean understanding. And then continuing on the plastic thing, what about the day, I think it was 3 years ago, when we discovered that nanoparticles of plastic cross the blood-brain barrier. So we could actually scientifically prove that plastic was in us. And that was a terrific moment to have that. But of course, there's all of the other ocean stresses, such as global warming and ocean acidification and overfishing and the crazy unsustainable fishing subsidies and deep trawling, you name it, that we know about. And all of this, in my mind, comes to be so overwhelming and so vast and so remote from so many people's normal life that they sort of get rooted into inaction. And I think of the family at breakfast. You know, it's a busy morning in the week, and you're getting everybody ready for school and work and all of that usual family busyness activity. And the news that's coming in on the radio or the television or quick glances at the newspaper often don't ring with action-focused, engaging language, unless you're, as we are, people of the ocean. And so this morning, I was so delighted. I'm just going to share my screen, James and Kate. So I just need to have someone allow me to share the screen. But let me try it. Oh, great. I'm sharing my screen. And I was absolutely delighted this morning at my breakfast to read an 88-page report. Now, okay, I didn't read all 88 pages with my porridge this morning, but I skimmed through this fantastic Mission Starfish report. Thanks very much, Kate, for sending it. And one line jumped out at me. Imagine that is the single line. Now, I do have to read all of the 88 pages and all of the lines, but I saw that and just cheered this morning, because what a fantastic moment to think this is a goal that everybody can understand. I tweeted yesterday, the very best way to understand the ocean is to be a scuba diver. And the second best way was to attend this conference. And I still believe that, but just maybe by the end of this conference, we can narrow that gap and people can say, well, you know what? The best way to understand the ocean was to be in this conference. And with language like this, we're going to be doing all right. And against that background, of course, we've got the EU Green Deal. This is this global leadership on a terrific scale that we've all celebrated. And thanks to Kate again, she's prompted me that this is the European Research and Innovation Days. So we've got a great sort of platform here for action. And as James well said, we're in the thick of the campaign for nature. The 30 by 30 target is now well received. I forget how many nations are signed up for it. And even more exciting for me is that we've agreed a target of 30% by 2030 as a milestone to can we really get to 50 by 50, E.O. Wilson and Half Earth. And you all must have seen, and I'm sure celebrated with a cup of tea or even a glass of champagne when we saw those financial reports about a month ago that showed that protecting 30% of the planet is a tremendous financial investment with returns around about 5 times of what it would cost. And these are the kind of language that really gets people excited. But it was this sentence here that really got me going. And it was my sort of wake up this morning. Usually for my wake up in the morning, I need 1 or 2 cups of tea or even a quick look at what Trump is tweeting. And either one of those gets me wide awake. But certainly this sentence here woke me up today. So I think of that background and I think of where we are today. And naturally, where are we today? Well, we're in the business of managing COVID-19. And as difficult as it is, I think we're crazy to not somehow recognize it as an opportunity, the opportunity of a generation. You know, we've got even the bad newspapers are saying things like our health is dependent on everybody else's health, which in turn is dependent on the value of nature, the health of nature. And what an amazing thing to say. And we've got, you know, everybody now reporting quite openly that we've got three steps. We need to protect what we have, we need to restore what's been damaged, and reset our values so it doesn't happen again. And a year ago, I would have been recommending we all have an enormous champagne party that this stuff was now mainstream news, but it is now. And I think we must take advantage of this fantastic opportunity, because this language leads to voters like the family at breakfast understanding what's going on, and those voters are the ones that bring in community influencers, community leaders, global leaders, and they must feel the pressure to do the right thing. So I love this kind of language. I think we're really getting somewhere, and I have a challenge for all of us really. Can we all go scuba diving in the next couple of days? Probably not. But can we prove that this language is going to make a difference? Can we really come up with that language that makes us feel, when we're having that early morning breakfast and we're busy, that we all feel a bit salty and sticky and wet and enthusiastic, with that look in our eyes that we've just come back from some time in the water somewhere? So I think that's our challenge. I think we've got a perfect platform to do that. And thanks very much for having me along. I'm looking forward to the next 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. I'm very much looking forward to our conversation later on, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of you. I certainly hope so. Everyone, unfortunately, we won't have time to ask Paul any questions because we're running very late, and we'll move forward. Now we'll dive into the straight session with both feet and with our scuba tanks, which is called status updates and highlights from members and working groups. So it's very important to know where we're at. And so I will give the floor now to Kate Larkin from Seascape Belgium and Francis on the slides. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, James, and thank you very much, Paul. It's fantastic to have such an inspiring start from both of yourselves. And indeed, now we're going to just run through a couple of status updates. I know we're running a little bit behind, so what we're going to do is just give you some updates. We're not going to take questions after this, but please do put your questions or comments into the chat, and we will collect them and respond to you after. And there's much more information online also. You'll also see these polls popping up, so please do interact as I'm speaking. Next slide, please, Francis. So we've heard a lot of the general overview of what the platform is, but just to remind ourselves, this is really a community-driven initiative. It's been kickstarted by the European Commission, and we're very pleased that this has happened, led, of course, with inputs from the UNESCO planning and all of the history of this. But what we would really like to communicate today is that this is for all of you as stakeholders. This is a voluntary network. It's completely inclusive. We started with some European founding members in the summer, and since then it's completely open for all applications. So we've been receiving applications from all sectors of marine and maritime, and we'd like to go beyond as well. So any stakeholders that you think would be motivated to join this cause, to jointly work together, to bring their existing resources and efforts and co-design Europe's ocean literacy efforts, then this is basically for them. It's also a shared responsibility. So members that join, of course, we expect that they are motivated to action, but it's really to create a hub, as James was saying, to really look beyond the normal connections and really link up quite diverse stakeholders to make new exciting things happen. Next slide, please. So the key objectives, we have terms of reference, so you can see all the details there, but building on existing initiatives, connecting those diverse stakeholders, bringing people together to ideate and innovate on ocean literacy, integrating very much with the other components, so with the youth for Ocean and the European network of blue schools that you'll hear about later today, and being a sort of European focal point for connecting existing efforts that could contribute to international efforts like the UN Decade of Ocean Science, and building this momentum. This has started this year. It will be an initial 2-year phase, but if we show enough momentum, it's hopefully going to be a much longer lasting initiative. Next slide, please. How are we doing this? So we've broken down the work into thematic areas. So there are some working groups that the European Marine Board are facilitating, and there are 3 topics there: food from ocean, a clean and healthy ocean, and climate and ocean. And you'll hear more from the working group chairs and representatives later. We also have a sea basin approach, and you'll hear from one of the focal points of the Black Sea later on. But as others were saying, this is very much the European focus, but in the context of international activities. So we want to bring in the overseas territories, we want to link with the international efforts also. So it's seen as a light governance that is facilitated with input from the Commission, but it's really mobilized by the members themselves, and it's an ever expanding voluntary network. Next slide, please. That's just to show you that we have the terms of reference, and we've actually just released a key facts, which is even more visual and gives you the key status. Next slide, please. So what does the platform offer to its members? You can read this in more detail after, but really it gives you as the member organizations or projects more visibility. But it by far, I think one of the biggest things is going to connect you with other stakeholders that you may not have already worked with, to give you new ideas and innovations. You can pool your resources as well and really get more impact by building on what you already have, but working with others. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so who are the platform members? So over the summer, so since we launched at the World Ocean Day on the 8th of June, we've actually brought together 101 members. So we've hit the milestone of 100, which was a great target for this meeting today. But it's ever expanding. And you can see the map here, which is now on the European Atlas of the Seas, which is a web platform, a communication tool of the European Commission of DG Mare. And there's a dedicated map now for all the members of the platform. So as soon as you've applied and been approved, we add you to this map. Next slide, please. Who are we in terms of the country distribution? You can see all the different countries that are already engaged. We have 21 out of the 27 member states, but also associated countries, even some international ones already. And that some of the members, of course, have European or international context also. Next slide, please. And in terms of the sectors as well, we're looking to make this as diverse as possible. It has started with quite a focal point of marine and maritime, academia, public organizations, NGOs, but we're rapidly expanding. We'd really like to bring in more industry and many others, philanthropists, etc. And not forgetting the key link with the education and the youth and schools, where we will be welcoming those also to join, and we already have some. Next slide, please. So don't take it from me. Please explore online. There is this QR scan code if you have a smartphone available, or you can go online. There is a members page. You can search by sector, by country, and really explore more. If you could just click through, I think you can just see all the logos coming up on the next slides that will show you all of the members that we have so far. So just keep clicking, please. That's fantastic. So hopefully all of you who have already joined will see your logos coming up. And we really would welcome more. So this is the last slide, really. These are just some photos that the members have kindly given to us for this meeting today, just to highlight the diversity of the different activities of the members. And we're looking forward to work with all of you to make this even greater success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kate. So that was very helpful. We have a really an amazing base, a foundation on which we can build, and so members is what we need. So I invite you to visit the website. Unfortunately, we don't have time to take questions, but visit the websites that we have shared just before, and you can see some information about how to become a member. And now, without further ado, we have Rosa Rodriguez from the organization called SOCIB, which is the Balearic Islands Coastal Observing and Forecasting System. And she's also an EU4Ocean Platform founding member, and she will talk to us about ocean literacy in the perspective from the islands. So the floor is yours, Rosa.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for inviting me to this forum. Here Here with me is my colleague Veronica Ortiz. We are both part of Communication and Ocean Literacy SOCIP team. In the first time, I would like to comment that for all SOCIP members, the ocean is not only our passion, it's our daily work. We work intensively to promote ocean literacy and to communicate the benefits and value of the ocean from the Mediterranean to the global ocean, and its implications for climate and the health of the planet. But it is also important for us to communicate ocean literacy from the perspective of ocean observatories. These marine infrastructures facilitate the understanding of the ocean and the sustainable management of marine and coastal resources by providing scientific knowledge and marine data and products responding to the needs of the society, marine industry, and policymakers too. A topic of special interest at SOCIP is to explain to the general public how the ocean data that we obtain using observation platforms like LiDAR, ships, buoys, satellites, allows us to predict the ocean weather, design land maritime activities, view real-time changes in the ocean conditions, or study our climate. Next, please. At SOCIP, we are committed to integrating ocean literacy as one of the key elements of our responsible research and innovation strategy. Ocean literacy has been recognized also as a key factor that allows participation in social and political issues related to the sustainability of the ocean, ocean observations, and the use of oceanographic products and services. In conclusion, almost all the societal goals of the decade of the ocean require integrate and sustain ocean observation. In addition, increase social and policy awareness of the needs, challenges, and opportunities of ocean observations will not be possible without the tools and approaches of ocean literacy. Over the last 8 years, SOCIP has carried out a variety of face-to-face and virtual activities, from festivals to science fairs. We have also organized contests such as La Mar de Ciencia or Medcliff Photo. We have created school workshops, shows, visits to the SOCIP Oceanographic Basel, speed dating with marine scientists, conference, theater, exhibitions, or oceanographic campaigns for children and families, among others. Next, please. We design our resources in different formats and for all audiences, like, for example, teaching units, catalogs, exhibitions, coloring pages, multimedia games, apps, infographics, tales, puzzles, websites, etc. The topics are diverse: the Mediterranean Sea, the ocean health, the importance of the ocean in the climate, and also about oceanography and new marine observation technologies. All of them are free and can be downloaded from our websites. Next, please. For us, as managers of scientific culture, the most important thing is to be in direct and close contact with all stakeholders and publics, to understand their needs. This relationship allows us to insert our activities and scientific content related to the ocean into the cultural and educational agenda, and also in the media of our island. We have contact with museums, exhibition halls, theaters, bars, sports centers, schools, NGOs, etc. Over the years, we have collaborated with more than 40 entities. We have organized many activities, but perhaps the most far-reaching and most rewarding at the same time is La Mar de Ciencia, a national drawing, video, and storytelling contest. These awards are addressed to children and young people, also involving school teachers and families. Our main objective in the 3 editions has been to promote ocean literacy and also to highlight the role of science observatories in the conservation of the ocean. We have also been spreading in each edition the message of the United Nations for World Ocean Day. This initiative has also served to promote creativity and bring together the arts and science. The participants, through drawing audiovisual language narrative, have surprised us with their artistic and amazing vision of the oceans. The winners enjoyed with a scientific weekend in the Balearic Islands and the participation of a scientific campaign on board a subsea vessel. We encourage you all to visit La Mar de Ciencia website. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Muchas gracias, Rosa. It was a very amazing presentation and very inspiring and makes me want to come and visit. And so I think a lot of organizations around the world would be benefiting from your insight and your experience and your success stories. I think it's a great example of ocean literacy that's very creative and engaging. So thank you very much for your presentation. And so right now we're going to go more into detail in the EU4Ocean platform. And so learning a bit more about how it works in terms of its working groups. So as you know, you've heard before, we have 3 different working groups. We have a climate ocean working group, a food from the ocean working group, and a healthy and clean ocean working group. So all members can join these working groups. And we will now hear a little bit more about these groups. So I'd like to welcome Angel Muniz, who is the EU4Ocean and European Marine Board facilitator. Elisa Baldrighi from Ocean Literacy Italia, also chair of the Healthy Seas and Ocean Working Group, and Gesche Krause from the Alfred Wegener Institute and member of the Food from the Ocean Working Group. So Angel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, James. Thank you, everybody. I have some couple of slides, so if we can have them. So I'm Angel Muñiz. I'm working for the European Marine Board and also the EU4Ocean facilitator. So the 3 working groups and these themes means that if we put the EU4Ocean platform together around some topics that people are interested or are passionate about, there is already one level of connectivity that all these people share. So the working groups are Climate and the Ocean, Food from the Ocean, a Healthy and Clean Ocean. The chairs will present the outcomes of the first meetings that we have in early September. But just to let you know that unfortunately the one of the chairs from the Food from the Ocean have to step down. So we're still looking for one, but we hopefully have one in the coming weeks. So if we can just have the next slide. As I said, the first working group meetings took place in early September, so it's really recent, and it was just as a starting point for the members to have a common ground, because as Kate already presented, we have a broad expertise in the platform, so it's also you have like a scientific foundations and also a private sector and so on. So it's just as a start to start exploring ways of collaboration, and this also people agree that these different members who have different reach, resources, and target audience is actually something that is really good for the platform and for the coalition itself, because the working groups can capitalize on that and reach a lot of people with different ways around Europe. So that's really great. So now the working groups will start to work actually, and the chairs will present you a couple of small activities that maybe we can get through in the coming months. And if you are interested, you are more than welcome to become a member of the EU4Ocean platform. And if you are already in the EU4Ocean platform, just hopefully you will be engaged in the coming months. So I give the floor to the following presenter, that will be Timon. So go ahead, Timon. Maybe I will just briefly present that on behalf of Timon, that the first working group meeting took place on the 1st of September. 29 members participated. They were also really engaged. And it's actually one of the examples we discussed many things, but one of the examples of activities that we can explore is that how can you or we transform our behavior to really mitigate and adapt to climate change. It's also there was the discussion like, okay, how the difference between behavior change and also how we mitigate and adapt, but also it could be a way to gather stories from a local context and to adapt it maybe to different local and regional contexts and audiences. is also to try to explain how we can really do holistic and inclusive actions that can really transform individual and local authorities' behavior. So there's one way that I think also that science had done in the past that really just provide information, but actually how you can work with social sciences, with cultural and also maybe arts as well to really transform our way of doing things. So it's also the questions of how we can really evaluate the success of this campaign, because you can try to do campaigns and you provide information to people, you engage with them with a couple of days, but then how do you make sure that these people actually will change there and transform their behavior? So it's also this kind of discussions that we are getting at the working group Coming in an Ocean. So maybe I will just pass it on to Heshe. Go ahead.
Just a second. Just a
okay,
second.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. I didn't have a choice to unmute myself. That's why it took me a moment. But thanks a lot, Angel. Perfect job. So I'm
Sorry.
here. No problem. No problem. You did it perfectly. Thank you very much. I'm Timon. Hello. I'm here.
Yes, sure. Good morning, everybody, and thanks very much for having the honor to present the first outcome of the working group on food of the oceans, which was a group meeting of 21 members. And I think the most interesting part was simply that we had a quite strong and clear consensus that if you look under the umbrella of food from the oceans, that you have a holistic system perspective. And as I am a social scientist, I was extremely pleased to see that we had a lot of discussions around values and cultural identity of food from the oceans, that it sort of differs across different countries, but at the same time somewhat is interconnected simply because we all need food for daily survival. And then we just a bit on COVID-19, what actually are some lessons or conclusions we can draw. One was because seafood is the most traded commodity on this food commodity globally, obviously it had a strong, COVID-19 had a strong impact. And currently there's a lot of debate on how can we degrow, regionalize, circular economy, which is of course of very much of interest if you think of fisheries and aquaculture. Speaking of fisheries, it was very clearly stressed that we need healthy oceans and we need to consider climate and climate change, because fisheries is completely relying on natural productivity. And the same for aquaculture. One needs to be more looking forward to more transformative patterns and potential new avenues. What I imply there is simply that if you look at across Europe, there's a strong surge, especially under younger generations, going to vegan diets or vegetarian diets, and obviously that may end up having more opportunities to go to lower trophic food commodities from the ocean, like for example algae or mussels, and obviously that would also then again have some repercussions on the oceans. So maybe just the last point then, that it was also very much discussed that we need to look along the entire value chain if we say food from the ocean. So where is it actually sourced? In Europe, basically, most of the food we consume, or seafood, is from third countries. And again, that's something quite worrisome, that we somewhat outsource our obligation to be sustainable to other countries. So that was a little bit touched on, and we also discussed along the value chain. So where does regional cultural identities play out, and where could we tap onto? Maybe that's just in a nutshell what was discussed. Thanks.
So Elisa, the floor is yours.
Yes, Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I am Elisa, and I am a member of Ocean Literacy Italia, and I am also the chair of the working group Healthy and Clean Ocean. We had our first meeting the 4th of September with 35 members that attended this meeting, and I was positively surprised because it was a very fruitful and active first meeting. We explore many activities to develop and many actions that we can develop. And just to give you an example of activities that we can explore is how to develop a coast code for people that are accessing the coast. But this coast code, there mustn't be a coast code based only on prohibition. We cannot do that, we mustn't do that, but it wants to be a coast code based on alternatives to change our behavior, to be conscious of our behavior. And in order to explore these activities, what we can do, we can gather actions and alternatives for activities that we can propose and distribute to municipalities. We can also to show people and how they can help achieving a clean and healthy ocean. They can do very simple actions that are basically part of their daily life. For instance, everybody has to use the sunscreen. And then, but we can pay attention on which kind of sunscreen we are using, for instance, and have a look to the labels, ensuring that this sunscreen can give you just only a low impact to the environment. And last thing, but not least, that is very important, that emerged during our first meeting is to evaluate the success of our campaign. That is very important. It is important to monitor and to be sure that our campaigns reach the target group that we want to reach. So that is one of the main points that emerged. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to see you tomorrow for this working group session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elisa and Angel. I think for those who want to learn more about those working groups, I think tomorrow is the day. So for those who registered, you have the chance to go in depth more, and there'll be some further discussions later on as well as geographical per sea basin. So please look at the schedule for tomorrow. And so now, without further ado, we will move to session 2 of the interactive dialogue, and I will pass over back to Kate Larkin to facilitate the panel.
Thank you very much, James, and thanks to all of the speakers in session 1. So as James said, tomorrow there's going to be more in-depth discussions on these thematics and the Sea Basin Regional Sea events also. But now we're actually going to have a dialogue with some of the EU4Ocean Platform members. So we have a panel including some of the speakers you've already seen and some new ones. So next slide, please. So if I can introduce them, James Nicotine, you've met already today. He's the chair of today's meeting, and he's also chair of the EU4Ocean Platform. Timon Zielinski from IOPAN in Poland. He's the chair of Working Group Climate and Ocean. Elisa Baldrighi, Ocean Literacy Italia, chair of Working Group Healthy and Clean Ocean. Geisha Krause from RV in Germany, member of Working Group Food from the Ocean. Rosa Rodriguez, we've heard from SOSIB, also an EU4Ocean founding member. And I'd like to welcome a new panelist, Philip Easthill, who represents the European boating industry. And we actually have one slide for Philip so that he can introduce himself a little bit more. So over to you, Philip. If we can just Philip's slide as well, thanks.
Thank you very much, Kate. As we don't have so much time, I will just start talking, but there's the slide already. So first of all, thank you very much for the invitation to speak today and to be part of this fantastic panel, this fantastic EU4Ocean platform. So we, EBI, we represent the recreational boating industry. You have a couple of numbers on the screen on the usage side, on the industry side, which is maybe interesting for you. But as a short introduction, what we do is we work on policy in areas such as the blue economy, tourism, trade, internal market, and of course, environmental sustainability. Ocean literacy and environmental awareness is really part of boating, and those out on the water who go sailing, boating, surfing or diving really understand best what the issues are. And I think we saw that earlier with the winner of a Young Ocean Waves competition, Jamila Tassin, with her sailing video from the Canary Islands. Personally, it got me very jealous because I have not been out of the water this year for the first time in really too many years. But what I want to do today is show a bit how ocean literacy is also important for the industry and a priority for the industry, and how we can be part of the solution. So thank you very much for that, and back to you, Kate.
Thank you very much, Philip. So now we're going to kick off some questions. I'd like to first ask each panelist one question, and then if people do have questions in the audience, please post them in the Q&A. We will have time for a couple of those towards the end. So if I go back to Philip first, could you maybe just share with us what the existing challenges are for your organisation, the European boating industry that you represent, in terms of engaging with wider stakeholders, in terms of delivering ocean literacy or communicating the work of EBI connected to the ocean, and also how you think the platform, the EBI being a member now, how that will help and add value to the work you already do.
Thank you very much, Kate. I think there's three main issues to highlight. One is existing projects, existing activities that exist in our industry. So for example, we have a lot of boat shows which take place in coastal areas, but also far away from coastal areas and non-coastal areas. For example, the largest one in the world, in fact, is in Düsseldorf, Germany. And I think those are really a good opportunity to bring the ocean to the general public. And for example, at Boot Düsseldorf, I mentioned just now, they have a huge area together with the German Ocean Foundation to really bring ocean literacy to the people, to school kids in the area. So those are really a good opportunity. The other issue is really about using the potential of boating and boat users. You saw the numbers a few minutes ago. We have around about 36 million people in Europe who go boating every year, 6 million boats. So I think if we can use those people and those boats as sort of ocean ambassadors, I think that would be really a positive step. Then the last issue I think I would like to highlight is a connection between blue careers and ocean literacy. I think many blue economy sectors, and we are part of those, experience that there's not enough young people who want to work in our companies, in our industries. So if we can get young people interested in ocean literacy, I think that's a step to get them also interested in a blue economy career. And just to mention that as an aside, we are part of a project called Blue Generation, and that has a lot of work on exactly this issue, getting young people into the blue economy. If you're interested in that, go on bluegeneration.careers. There you can find more information and also a free job portal. So to the last part of your question, I think for us and why we are a founding member of EU4Ocean is to bring the sort of boating perspective into the discussion, how we can use this good potential, how we can connect and enlarge existing activities. And we look forward to working with all of you in doing that. Back to you, Kate.
Fantastic. Thank you, Philip. And then if I could ask the same question to Timon and Elisa. So we've heard from the working group perspective, but maybe if you could answer as your organisation or member perspective now, what are the challenges of ocean literacy and what do you think the added value of the platform will bring you? And first to Timon, please.
Okay, thank you. So hello once again. Well, from the perspective of my institute, I would say we are okay because I lead a unit that was founded a couple of years ago, and it's called Climate and Ocean Research and Education, and we do both. So personally, I'm a researcher, and most of my colleagues are researchers, but we've always realized the need for education and promoting science results. So we do both research. I would say I do like 70 or 60-40 now, research versus education and promotion. So from the perspective of my institute, it's okay, but from the perspective of wider perspective of researchers in Poland, let's say, the major challenge is that we as researchers do not really want to cooperate on promoting our results, and that's the major challenge. And if we do, very often we don't really have know-how how to do it. We do it in a, I would say, very often a clumsy way, and it has a rather wrong impact on our audience. That's my perspective. What we do because we realized our limitations. We started cooperating with educators from outside of the institute, with NGOs. So tomorrow I'll show you the results of one project that we have, and it's a cooperation between an NGO, an educating company that has educators, and us. So our major challenge is to reach people who have knowledge and to transfer this knowledge in a nice way. The temporary problem, I hope, but also an opportunity, just like Paul Rose said, is the COVID thing. We launched 2 years ago, we launched a very nice set of in-person workshops. We've had over 600 kids from the area so far. We had plans starting March this year, everything collapsed. So it's sad, but at the same time, we built a recording studio meanwhile, and we're getting ready for the online lessons and workshops. It's a completely new experience for us, which is an opportunity, but also the kids that we had so far were the local kids. Now we can be open to the entire Poland, and the opportunity that I can see with the EU4Ocean platform is, why not go pan-European? We have know-how, we have ready materials, we have everything ready. We're more than happy to share it, discuss, make it global. Why not? We talk about the ocean, we talk about climate change. So these are all issues that we all deal with on the daily basis. So this is the opportunity that I see in the platform for all of us.
Thank you very much, Timon. That's fantastic to hear of the work you've already done, the challenges, but also the opportunities, right, with connecting wider beyond your stakeholder group. And now we're going to hear from a communication and education group. So if we ask Elisa the same question, how does it work in your national ocean literacy network, and what are the challenges and opportunities do you see?
Okay, thank you, Kate. So I am a member of the Ocean Literacy Italia. Our organization is still a relatively young organization. So, and the activities that we want to do and we are trying to do are activity based on our educational and outreach activities. So our network and the public that we would like to reach is a broad public, and is a public that we want to reach and with whom we would like to work, actively work. So for instance, we would like to work, and we are trying to work with students, young people and kids. And we are organizing summer school, thematic exhibition and thematic contest, for instance. And then another group that we would like to reach are teachers, by producing, for instance, teaching material, training courses. And also we would like to reach and we would like to work with a general broad public by organizing ocean literacy activities and also citizen science activities. We are trying to do also that. It's difficult, especially during this year, because we try to do everything online, and then time to time we got many problems. We had scheduled many activities to do with the public and we had to cancel everything, but well, we will find a solution. And for sure, the EU4Ocean network will be a chance for us, will be a chance to make stronger our network, to be more active, to find out collaboration, for instance, and also, why not, to be inspired by someone else, of our colleague from Europe, to give us some ideas that we can develop also in Italy. So it would be, honestly, to be a member, to become a founding member of EU4Ocean, for us that we are still so young, it would be really a chance. So I hope that we will have fun, and then we can develop together nice and effective activities. Thank you very much, Kate.
Thank you very much, Elisa. Okay, and now just briefly to ask the other panelists, so what do you see as your contribution to EU4Ocean going forward in terms of your member organization? And that first question is to Geisha, please, in RV.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we have in AVI for a long time now a long-standing relationship with schools. So we have a school within the institute. So students coming there on an everyday basis. Sort of like a glasshouse school, and we also have a lot of teachers who come and are educated, and we learn from them sort of what are the questions young people actually are asking for. We have I don't know if some of you know that, but we have a very large polar expedition running right now, the Mosaic expedition, where our research vessel was frozen into the Arctic ice for a year. And within that, we had a application scheme where young people could be participating in that. So we had applicants from all over the globe, and 20 young research scientists were able to join in the fund. And so at the moment, because of this discussion on how can we transform into more sustainable ways, we have a lot of engagements with our local regional institutions, in the sense that we want to have a glass house research environment, so that, for example, if you go to a restaurant in our hometown, Bremerhaven, that you're able actually to book a tour on where does the fish actually come from, and to showcase that. So there's a lot of things going on. I think the greatest challenge, as I personally see it, is more to really capture the multidimensionality. I don't know if that word actually exists in English, but to really not only to look on sustainability goal number 14, life underwater, but to really to reach out and show, okay, when we engage with the oceans, it's all about, for example, quality of education, leaning to the sustainability goal number 4 or 12, sustainable production and consumption, etc. And what I'm really looking forward to have this platform is to get a better sense of how can we actually do transformative research and really true meaningful engagements with society, so that we really know what does society wants to know, where are the research gaps, where are the bottlenecks, and how can we jointly overcome these, and also to really to sharpen our research questions at the end of the day to become really meaningful. That would be really cool. Thank you
very much. Very good. And then we've heard presentations already by Rosa and James, but I would like to give them the opportunity for a quick sound bite to complement what Geish has just said. So any added value or forward look towards your contribution to the forum and the platform in 1 minute, please. First Rosa and then James.
I believe that from SOCIP we can bring, on the one hand, our experience in educational and cultural management of content related to science and the ocean, and on the other hand, our motivation. In the Balearic Island and Spain, it's a peninsula, most of the citizens live looking at the sea, but most of them do not appreciate its value sufficiently. We believe that at SOCIP we have been able to connect with the citizens and the political institutions among other stakeholders with proposals, with scientific content, but at the same time playful and fun. All this activity has served as a reflection and also to demand, for example, better protection of the Balearic coast based on science, or to have the ocean more present in educational programs at the schools. In this sense, it's very gratifying that our work is really useful. For that, we would like to encourage other institutions at European level to work together in this way.
Thank you very much, Rosa. I'll have to cut you a little bit short. Sorry, just to move on to James for his soundbite, just because we're running a little bit behind. But thank you very much. And just to say, all presentations are going to be made available together with the full recording. Thank you very much. Over to you, James.
Thank you, Kate. I'll just keep it very brief. So from my perspective, Manaya Productions were a production company, and we want to work very early on with project managers and collaborators from different areas. But we primarily work on nature conservation, science, and livelihoods, and the balance. But what I'm interested in really is the connectivity as well between people, solutions, and the stories, and thinking of the EU and its sort of halo of influence and beyond the EU as well. So thinking of Antarctica, thinking of the Pacific, the Caribbean, and the Indian Ocean as well. So I think that's what I would like to contribute to the platform.
Fantastic. Thank you, James. Thank you to all our panelists. There's never time enough, but we can follow all these discussions tomorrow, thematically in the morning tomorrow, and sea basin wise in the afternoon tomorrow. And now we're going to move to our next session, session 3, and I'll pass back to James. And just to say, we are running a little bit late, so if you can stay with us until 12:15, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kate. So now we'll move to our next session, and we'll be talking about turning interest to action, basically. So session 3, and I would like to welcome the wonderful Andrea Ionascu from Mare Nostrum, and who's also the Black Sea focal point. So Andrea, the floor is yours.
Thank you, James. It's great to see everybody here. So if you could move to the next slide, please. Thank you, Francis. Why do we need a sea basin approach? Well, that is very easy. We really wanted to add, let's say, the human factor. So a sea basin approach allows us to reach local communities and have a more accurate grasp of needs and specificities. We really want to connect people, so that is why the EU4Ocean has this regional scale, because this way we can connect people regardless of their background. We really wanted to feel that everything is accessible, no matter if we talk about, I don't know, scientists, policymakers, teachers, young people, NGO members, or any other group that might be interested in ocean literacy. That is why working together on tackling specific ocean challenges to each sea basin will make this more accessible for people to join our common European effort. Please, next slide, Francis. So these are the 5 sea basins in which EU4Ocean has a lot of members. You can see them there. There's Atlantic Ocean and North Sea. There's the Arctic Ocean, the Baltic Sea, the Mediterranean, and the Black Sea, where I am from. Basically, in 2021, we will have 5 sea basin events and workshops all around these sea basins that will really focus on engaging people. They will be interactive, they will be very dynamic, and why not very creative? We hope so. They will be integrated with the EU4Ocean platform, the EU4Ocean forum, and of course the European network of Blue Schools that you already heard about here, and you will find out more information in the following workshops. Next slide, please. Now, these keywords that you see on your screen right now represent what we consider in a way to be the essence of the sea basin approach. As you can see, at its core, it's the ocean literacy, of course, and it is surrounded by great key concepts and keywords such as cooperation, sustainability, knowledge, action, and many others that you can see there. Next slide. So tomorrow we have 5 sea basin online workshops, each with a lot of interesting and engaging speeches, a lot of interesting topics, working groups, and many others. You could check with each workshop organizer to see if you might still find some free places. Maybe someone just retired on the last minute and you could join us depending on your working area. Well, if you want to be a part of these amazing workshops and also the events that are coming in 2021, well, Kate will just tell you soon how to do that, because you can join the EU4Ocean platform to get more involved with us. We have a great team, if I might say that. And well, I'm passing it to Kate to tell you more about how you can get involved together with us.
Thank you very much, Andrea. That's fantastic. And the Sea-Based workshops next year are really, I think, a great target to aim for that we can all collectively be part of. And I really hope they can take place in person. I'd like to show you a little bit more about the next steps. If you are joining us today and you're not yet a member, how can you join? Right, so first of all, what does success look like? This is a big question when people approach us, of course. This initiative has been set up from this year and has a sort of 2-year initial lifespan, but the aim is for a much longer lasting initiative driven by the members. And we now have, as I said, 101 members, and it's growing strong. So we've set up the platform this year, but as you can see, there is a plan for next year to sort of amplify what we already have to grow the diversity of the membership, both in terms of sectors and countries, of course, and the sea basin events that were mentioned just now. That really will engage people at the regional level, maybe taking the key messages from each of these thematic areas, but tailoring it to regional seas where you might have particular priorities that you're mostly interested or ways to engage your communities. And there will be some advocacy campaigns as well. And we'll be linking more with the youth and the schools also. And then the movement will hopefully continue well beyond that into the decade for the ocean. Next slide, please. So this is the roadmap. There are the Sea Basin workshops coming up, and then a final conference for the initial phase in spring to summer of 2022. Next slide, please. And then, of course, we're very linked with these other components, which you'll hear more about later today. Next slide, please. And then the last one, this is how you can join. So if you are interested, please do go on the website, the QR scan code also, and contact us if you need more information. Thank you very much. I think that's the last slide. Yes, great. So thank you. That's all from me. I'll pass back to James and then we'll hear from the European Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. That was really interesting. And thank you, Andrea, as well. Some really interesting, tangible next steps and a roadmap for where we're going with this incredible platform of ours. So thank you both. And now we're sort of approaching the end of our workshop. And so I'd like to welcome Andy Kontoudakis from DG Mare, Policy Officer for the European Commission, working at DG Mare, the Directorate General of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries in the Maritime Innovation Unit, Marine Knowledge and Investment. So Andy, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, James. I hope you hear me. Thank you to everybody that participated, that has joined in. And I would like to touch on so many issues because so many issues were raised today from all of you, but I need to be succinct because of the time. But I will be inclusive. This is what you called for previously, and I will adhere to that. So from the European Commission perspective, from the policy side, the Green Deal, the recovery and resilience efforts that we're currently running, the strategies like the farm to fork strategy, or the upcoming sustainable blue economy strategy, the climate pact, the mission that we have for oceans under the forthcoming Horizon Europe program, the biggest research program on Earth, and the whole emission reduction efforts that we are going to develop. And also the COVID crisis, which needs to be seen rather as an opportunity rather than a threat. All this, for all this, ocean literacy is a direct contributor, an intuitive complement, an automatic almost supplement. Paul Rose has already touched upon this. I cannot urge you enough on that. This holds true. It is like that. And we heard this morning in the opening as well that we need to have ideas, out of the box ideas, that we need to be sustainable, that we need to be creative, that we need to be inclusive. This is the reason we organize the platform and we organize the work under the coalition. we organize in communities, in thematics, the working groups that we have here, James and Kate alluding to previously. We organize work to regions, as you have heard Andrea previously mentioning. It is important to convey these perspectives as well, the thematic perspective and the regional perspective, and help like that emerge workable solutions for more ocean literate communities on the ground, help emerge activities, actions, joint projects, campaigns. We rely on you to move policy on this because our policy will feed on what's going on in the ground. We rely on you to remove the behavioral barriers that we have heard of, and we rely on you to put us on the map, all of you, all of us. The good steering and contextualization of the work of the other work streams and of the other communities relies on the platform as well. I would like to point that out. So you would need to steer the youth, you can mentor them, guide them, help them in their endeavors. And for schools, you're there as platform members to pitch in and help and develop ocean learning in schools. We heard that it is needed to build bridges where this does not exist, of course. And the platform would be very apt to do this. You have the connections, you have the networks, you can mobilize them, you can take energy and strength from what is discussed today and what is delved into tomorrow and build on that and expand. Thank you very much for being here today, for being one of us in the discussions. We urge you to continue this afternoon and tomorrow, and we will be there to tag along on this effort as European Commission. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Andy, and thank you to the co-organizers, Seascape Belgium, Acteon, the European Marine Board, Manaya Productions, Finnish Environment Institute, the Institute of Oceanology of the Policy of Academy of Sciences, Ocean Literacy Italia, the Lighthouse Foundation, the European Boating Industry, and many, many others. Thank you to the participants. Thank you for the speakers, to Paul Rose for joining us today. And thank you to you, all the participants, the members and the prospective members of the EU4Ocean Platform. It's a great pleasure to have co-chaired this first workshop, and I look forward to many more. Over to you, Kate.
Thank you very much, James. Well, there's nothing really more to say apart from first thanking the Commission and all the policymakers that have made EU4Ocean a reality, I would say. And then thank you to all the members and the future members that will take this forward, I hope, to make this a success. And very last but not least, thank you, James, because I think you know, the chairmanship today and also your leadership in the preparations of this have been fantastic. So thank you very much. Thank you all for your inspirations, and see you online.